Okay, we're 13 days away from Hanukkah. By me, it's like very, very, very exciting, and I feel like it's already Hanukkah's here. So we're going to discuss Hanukkah, but first we're going to connect it to today's daf. A very interesting shaila. These are certain things that happen, and we get used to these concepts, and we don't think, okay, but what's the Torah's perspective? Or at least I don't. Until I see that it's Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zichrono Livracha. So Moshe has a tshuva that connects to the sugyas that the Daf Yomi is now learning, which is whether a person can retract in the middle of his job. And specifically, Rav Moshe wrote a tshuva, can people go on strike? And he discusses the whole concept of a union, very interesting, union bilaz. And then he says, and what about teachers? Can teachers go on strike? So it just shows you how Moshe finds in Zichrono Livracha when he would look at anything, he was looking at it from the perspective of what does the Torah tell us? What is the truth? And Moshe says a very profound idea. He says that although the concept of going on strike, that definitely has precedent in halacha. In fact, we see it throughout our sugyas. However, when it comes to a school, specifically a yeshiva, and that actually applies, says Moshe, for a yeshiva, first of all, it's asr. And the reason why, he says, because they don't have a right to be mevata them from learning Torah, and therefore it's considered a chet. Although, Rav Moshe in the end of the tshuva writes that if they assess, and you have to ask Chacham, and he says that perhaps, he's not saying it even with full permissibility, but he says that if you could assess that 1 or 2 days they're going to go on strike because the teachers, the rebbes, mamish, don't have what to eat, and that's going to change things, and they're going to be able to teach better, then it's okay. What's very profound about this whole tshuva also is, again, there's that Rav Moshe doesn't let anything go without the Torah's perspective. And he adds another thing. He says, even the secular studies. I try to tell kids that always ask me about secular studies, this is, the more you go to the Hasidic places, the less of a chashivas it is, and it's very sad, especially that, I think it was Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, he said, that they asked him about secular studies, and of course in Torah V'das, this was something that they had. He used to say that a person, a yid, has to know that whatever he's doing, he should do it to the fullest. And because if he doesn't, even though it may not have the same chashivas as the Torah, but it's going to inhibit and it's going to affect the way he does everything in general. So this is such an important concept. So says Moshe, not teaching, even the secular studies in the yeshiva, is going to have the kids battling, and not being busy with doing things. And once a kid is battling and not doing things and has time in his hand, is going to cause trouble. So this is Moshe, therefore they can't really go on strike. If they do, like I said, it has to be very much assessed. So I decided this morning, people tell me, Baruch Hashem, that these videos are seen, there are families that sit by breakfast and they watch this video. So I always have to make sure also that these words are being said and understood and accepted also by the children too. And therefore, I'm speaking about a very sensitive topic that just seems to come up every single day these days. Havai, 10 years ago, I was involved in Kiruv. It was so exciting. It was the mitzvah of the Dor, the Gedolim said. And unfortunately now the Gedolim are saying, and anyone that sees the world today, there's a machla of the Dor. There's a magefa of the Dor. The magefa of the Dor is kids that are, Achman al-Tzon, being abused and being affected in a terrible way, and the essential idea is where kids are being touched in an improper way, and the kids don't know how to react. That's where all the trouble starts. So Baruch Hashem, there's an amazing organization, my dear friend Lev Tzviglak, and I almost now have to speak to him almost every day because of cases that are coming my way. So I decided, as much as I can, one of the most important things for intervention is education. And one of the things, especially today, is to be able to speak to kids. Hanukkah is also an amazing time. There's a little bit more time to sit down with kids and be able to have an open conversation and teach kids just the essential ideas, which is, first of all, as I try to tell kids, I just had a conversation with one of the kids also that was being challenged. I said, the first thing is you should know is that, like the pasuk says, tza'aka nara, a child that's being touched by someone that he doesn't feel it's proper, he should know that there's a concept, and number 2, he should scream, and he should even bite, and he should even scratch, and he should go and tell an adult. That's a basic thing that a child should know. And now a kid should know that there's someone there that you could go to, and there's open channels I find that that's one of the big challenges today. That's how to speak to kids. And many times what happens is parents don't speak to kids. So today is an encouragement that kids should know that there's the importance of speaking to the parents and parents speaking to the kids, and to feel that safety. And avai, I shouldn't have to speak about this again. But in the meantime, since we're holding 13 days from Hanukkah, and Hanukkah is a time where it's very much focused on the kids. In fact, we're going to discuss much more about this. All the minhagim, the dreidel, the Hanukkah gelt, which seems to perhaps, sometimes you think people made these things up. You start reading the Bnei Sascha, every single meaning behind just the fact that Goishna, Neis Godel HaYasham, which is the letters, is the Gematria of Mashiach. And the letters themselves represent very high things. We're going to go into it, God willing, this week. Havai should be Zeicha, that Chanukah should be the Yemaisa Mashiach, and even before Chanukah. So this way we could get already to the beautiful days of Mashiach.